You're listening to Cards to the Moon, a podcast about trading cards from both a collector and investor perspective. We hope you'll stick around for the ride as we take a deep dive into the state of the hobby, share some hot takes, hopefully some useful advice, and fun stories along the way. Hey guys, welcome back to Cards to the Moon. This is episode 271, and my name is Clark from 5cardguys.com and 5cardguys on Instagram, Facebook, and on YouTube. Co-hosting with me, as usual, is Hyung of Integrity Sports Cards. John won't be able to join today because he's got a pretty busy schedule this week, but he did share some of his thoughts in our chat group about the release of this year's Top Series 1, which features Aaron Judge on the cover. We'll get into that in our next segment, but first, off the top, Hyung, I want to get your thoughts on the very recent news that Tom Brady, yes, the 7-time Super Bowl champion, arguably the GOAT of football, he is acquiring a 50% stake in CardVault, which is a sports card and memorabilia retailer. Now, one of the owners and founders of CardVault is Chris Costa, and if you're an OG listener of our podcast, back in season 1 of Cards to the Moon, almost 5 years ago, Chris was our very first guest interview on the pod. So
that's crazy.
Huge congrats. Yeah, huge congrats to Chris and his team. It's certainly big news that Brady is now part of the CardVault team. And in fact, they are rebranding and are now called CardVault by Tom Brady. And it looks like they have plans to scale its operations fairly quickly with perhaps more hobby shops across the country. We'll definitely have to try to get Chris back on the pod. But Hyung, your thoughts on this piece of news and what it could mean for the hobby at large?
So there's a couple things to kind of unwrap this. One, congrats to Chris. That's unreal news. It's kind of like if you were to start a company and you sold it to Tom Brady, and your partners with Tom Brady, it's a dream come true, probably, right? So it's pretty cool to see when Chris started the whole CardVault initiative, and to see kind of where it's been built to as well. Because even like when he had the CardVault location in, was it Fenway? Or no, it was
where the Patriots play.
Yeah,
Foxborough.
the Patriots. Yeah, Foxborough Stadium. Sorry, yeah. So it's like little steps like that led to kind of like this massive deal. And I could already envision it if it's like franchise with Tom Brady's name. From that perspective, it's a great business move, I think, from Chris's perspective. Now flipping in the macro lens, where overall, what does that mean to the hobby? I mean, I think that is the most ideal case you can get. You get one of the biggest names in sports, probably the greatest of all time in football, to be heavily involved from a business standpoint, I think is a crazy sign of what we've been talking about this whole time, right? It's like, these are the bullish signs that kind of say, why would someone get involved with that big of a name? You know what I mean? Right. If it wasn't viable.
Yes.
Right? So I think it's great. Overall, it's like, when you sent me that link, I was shocked, but I wasn't shocked, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, like, I was probably more shocked at like the pace of, how everything's developing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's kind of crazy that, as I was reflecting on our first interview on the pod with Chris almost 5 years ago, it's a relatively short time, just because of how fast everything's kind of come together, especially with what we've been able to do in the hobby within just using this podcast. And also, 5 years is also a long time to develop things. And it's awesome to see, like you were saying, where we've come from, and just another really bullish sign for the hobby. And I was thinking about like a good analogy, and some people might not like the whole franchising idea, and like, is this going to be one of those things where, CardVault by Tom Brady becomes one of the only stores that people end up going to just because, the operations are much better, and maybe it's kind of like Cards HQ in Atlanta with Jeff Wilson. Like there's people that would just want to go to a much brighter and cleaner store versus a mom and pop. But I think you just need both, right? It's like
you need both.
The analogy, the analogy I was thinking is like theaters, like you need your AMCs, you need your Cineplex, but you also appreciate the Rainbow and cinemas, like the more boutique independent theaters, right? Like
the way I see it is
exist with both.
The way I see it is like those independent small hobby shops. That's where you pull the smoke. I'm telling you, I don't know. Right. Yeah, it's like random packs that you buy and then you hit big. But like those bigger franchises, I get both sides, but I think as long as they focus on always trying to improve, I guess, the hobby. So really listening, because think, the people with deeper pockets in this industry, they're gonna hopefully invest that money to better it. Whereas if you're kind of like, don't have the resources to necessarily focus your attention on fixing problems, then I think it's going to be a tough business. Is because it's all focused on, am I going to sell enough? Am I going to, you know what I mean? Instead of doing what will actually help and impact the hobby, which is, investing in resources to make it better.
Yep.
Right.
And to add to that point, just to have a wider appeal for the hobby.
Right.
So you do invite more people into the hobby because it seems to be those places are more accessible in a lot of ways, instead of like going to a independent shop where you don't know the owner, you don't know what the vibe is. It might be intimidating for some people. Sometimes it's really quiet. Whereas if you go to a big store, you can peruse, you could just take your time and then, maybe you do your own research back at home after going to those places. Right. I think that's kind of a cool benefit of seeing like CardVault by Tom Brady kind of expand their operations and their business.
Right.
So and just knowing even Chris I don't know him that well, but just seeing what he's been able to do within the hobby, I don't think it could have happened to a better guy in terms of helping build out this hobby and this business. Yeah,
and we need more guys like that. Like we said, we always said those are the guys that kind of like go all in on things where they see a vision and, they're going to make it happen. And that was the crazy part because we were able to see it from this side of, and I'm sure it wasn't easy. Like any task or any project is never easy. So it's easy to see that, wow, we've seen kind of like the crazy growth that, Chris had. But yeah, like it was kind of an honor to kind of watch it from the sidelines because it was nothing at one point, right? We were talking about selling the Tatis orange, like Sapphire Auto for like $3.5K back at peak. And we're like, sell it. And then now it's like, I sold my business to Tom Brady, or I partnered up with him.
I remember that conversation.
Yeah.
I'll end off with this, like just my last thought is if something like this didn't come along, if we kept the hobby as it is, which is just a bunch of independent shops, maybe even more independent shops, it's fine. Yeah. But I feel like there's a ceiling. Do you know what I mean? There's a ceiling to how much the hobby can grow. But if you have something like this, where you have a major athlete, major investor, and you could really expand operations and scale quickly, that has a much higher ceiling in terms of how fast the hobby can grow. So that's my thought. You don't have to like even a shop like CardVault by HQ. You might think it's too corporate, but I think overall it is a benefit for the hobby in general. All right, let's move on to hobby headlines. It's an exciting week for baseball card collectors because the launch of Topps Series 1, of course, coincides with the beginning of another new baseball season with spring training just around the corner. It's also a relatively affordable product to rip, and it's really fun to chase your favorite players that you'll be rooting for this season. Now, in Topps Series 1 2025, there's also new insert cards and hits in the product this year, and I want to go through some of them. And for each one, I want to see if we think it's cool or gimmicky or if you have any other thoughts about them, all right? So let's start off with a card that pays homage to the Frank Thomas No Name on Front card from the 1990 Topps set, which is 35 years ago. It was an error card if people aren't familiar with the No Name on Front card. And if you look on eBay, it's usually NNOF. It's kind of shortened to that. But it is an error card, which, as the name suggests, the card was missing the name Frank Thomas on the front, making it a pretty rare card. And according to Card Ladder, I just looked this up, there's only one PSA 10 of that card, so it's really hard to find in good condition. And it's just sold last November, most recently for almost $150,000.
Wow.
Now in Topps Series 1 this year, they made a limited subset with active players like Mookie Betts and Andrew McCutchen, and also legends like Ted Williams, Ricky Henderson, Larry Walker, and Frank Thomas, of course. And each of these no-name hits are numbered to 35, right? Denoting the 35-year anniversary of the 1990 set. On that point, John says he's a big fan of these cards, and especially that it's also super rare, which he notes is a perfect homage to the OG error card. So yeah, what do you think, Hyung? What do you think about these cards?
So I'm just looking at the Frank Thomas one. So
the original or the 2025?
No, I know the original.
Remake.
The original is like kind of like what it got us so excited about the hobby in the 90s, right? Like that was the card that stood out. Yeah. It's like, why is this card so much on Beckett, right? And then when we came back to the hobby, we're like, that's the first card, that in the 89 Upper Deck Griffey. Yeah. It would be the no name, the 52 man, like all these cards were kind of like the classic OGs, right? So I like the idea because it gets kind of those people that are irrelevant. I guess I could, and by no means is Frank Thomas irrelevant because I think he's one of the most underrated, one of the best right-handed hitters of all time in baseball. So, but he gets no love as well. And as these, superstars from the 90s and 80s kind of get overshadowed, I feel like I like the idea, but I'm looking at the no-name error card, that they produced in Series 1 2025. And I don't know. It's just, to me, it's just like, will it be, like, for instance, remember there was a Luis Robert no name? Does anybody remember that?
No.
No. Exactly. Right? That's my whole point. There was one. And that was kind of like bringing back the Frank Thomas no name as well, right? Okay. Like, so Luis Robert had one in series, I forgot what series, but his Topps flagship rookie, which is a SSSP. And It's one of those things where it's like, well, will people forget about it? Is it cool? Yes. But is it gonna be valuable or hold value? I don't know. It might hold like scarcity value, and to the right collector, I think there might be opportunities, but like, yeah, I wouldn't say I'm in love with it because I could see it not having that much value, if that makes sense.
Fair point. No, it makes total sense. It's a fair point. I do like that it's numbered to 35, so definitely,
super rare.
There's a scarcity level, yeah. And you know what? I think the only one I would really want is the Frank Thomas one. Yeah. It would be kind of cool to have the original one and then also this 2025 after 35 years. And the other ones it's kind of cool. I'm seeing the prices kind of go from $100 to $300-$400. So, it's not that expensive.
Pretty hefty price for Frank Thomas, huh?
Yeah. But I mean, to your point, I could see those values going down over time as well, especially for non-Frank Thomas.
I would be very interested in the original 1990 no name. Like that would be the card to kind of get. So it's like, would I rather spend the money on the 2025 one, or would I put it towards like a NNO Frank Thomas, right? So that's why for me, it's like, and maybe it's a cool collection if you have both. Maybe that's your thing.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's my thing, is what I'm saying.
All right. So you lean more on the gimmicky side. That's cool. I think you convinced me as well. John convinced me first that was cool, and then you convinced me it's a bit gimmicky. So I'm very
like I said, I wouldn't complain if I had the card. You know what I mean? It's out of 35.
The Larry Walker one looks kind of cool. The Expos.
Let me see the Larry Walker because he's fellow Canadian, and I actually been on a yacht with Larry too. So
right. And he's in an Expos uniform, so I think you might like it. Here, I think you might want his.
Sorry, I should have done research before, but so do you have a picture? Oh, okay, I see it. Terrible picture of him though.
You don't like it?
Yeah, like it's just not the stance or anything. It's just like I find like you could have found a better picture. But yeah, like Larry Walker, Expos, legend. I wouldn't mind having that card, but I'm not paying a premium for it at the same time. It's more of a collector's piece, I think. So I think a lot of collectors, this is what I'm concluding, just thinking out loud now. I think a lot of collectors would appreciate it just because that 1990 Topps design is so like classic. At least for me, because it was when we started ripping, like really, like I'm at the convenience store every day. It's either red 1990 Donruss or Topps 1990 Topps, right?
Yes, yeah. You know what? I think it's pretty cool card for nostalgic reasons.
Yeah,
it's
I agree.
It's catering to that demographic. All right, let's go to the next one. I'm gonna admit I'm totally into this for some reason. I feel like you might not be, but it's the player number variation card. So what it is for each player in the subset, their card is numbered up to their jersey number. Okay, so for example, Vladdy and Mike Trout, their jersey numbers are 27. So this player number variation card is numbered to 27. And it's essentially the same design, but it does have their number tiled in the background. So you see 27 all over. Ohtani is in the subset, so his card is numbered to 17.
I like it.
Skeens, numbered to 30. And Gunnar Henderson, numbered to 2. Because of his jersey number.
I like it.
So you like it. Okay.
I like it. So what if there's nobody that wears 0, right? Because that, or would it be a frozen? Would it be a frozen factor at that point?
And there's Aaron Judge. Of course, he's not
90.
numbered to 99.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Ellie's 44.
No,
So
okay. Hear me out. Like my biggest thing with Top Series 1, Series 2, I personally always liked it because it was affordable rip, and usually the flagship stuff is really sought after in terms of paper parallels because you have the classic gold, which is numbered to your year, and then from there it used to be just like your vintage stock at a 99, and then your Independence Day at 76, your black at 67, your Mother's and Father's Day, and then your camo, and then your clear, right? So that I used to love, but my only thing was it was literally finding a needle in a haystack. Like the rips are tough, like very, very tough. So my knock has always been the rip is really boring. You get a lot of cards. So I was curious as to see what Fanatics would do to make the experience better on flagship, because I feel like flagship in general is losing its luster because Chrome is such a better rip, better experience, more value on the cards, and kind of like the paper. And I remember like 4 years ago, I did a poll. Which do you like better, like paper parallels or Chrome parallels? And I kid you not, it was 50-50 at that time, 4 years ago. I guarantee you it's like 80%, 20%. Or somewhere way higher for Chrome over paper parallels. Yeah, for sure. So like Topps in general, flagship has lost its luster, and kind of like Topps Chrome update for the years before, right? So Fanatics did the MLB debut patch in the Topps Chrome update that totally revived that set. And then now it's like, what are we doing in the paper experience that I'm looking forward to? And these little things, like I'm not fully sold on, let's just say, the Frank Thomas, the inserts, which is good though. I still want those because if I pulled it, like I said, I'd be happy, right? But it's these things that I'm more excited about. Like numbered parallels, the variations, such a cool concept. 100%. Like Bobby Witt Jr., 7 cards. Are you kidding me?
Right.
You know what I mean? With the parallel as the number. So from a collection and eye appeal standpoint, I think it's going to be a great addition, right? And then this will also prove that maybe rookie card chasing is not necessarily a forefront anymore.
You didn't think about that, yeah.
Right? Because now, like, you're seeing so many different hits. Because before the hits were colored parallels and rookie autos. Anything else, it's like, do we want? Or any parallel, it's like, if it's not a rookie, it's worthless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an element for sure in terms of the chase. I agree. Yeah. No, I'm surprised. I mean, I don't know why. I just like the the concept, and it's unique in a way, right? So I hope they continue it. They should make it. I don't know who has a jersey number 1. I guess that's essentially
that's
a 1 of 1 for
superfractor. Will there be a 1 of 1 and then a superfractor, or is it a foil fractor?
Foil fractor, yeah.
Boring.
It'll be a foil fractor.
They need to get rid of all number 1 of 1s and just keep everything a superfractor, and there's only 1 of them. That's
just simplify it that way.
Yeah, get rid of the flatinum. Nobody likes the flatinum. Just put it into a superfractor, and you're good.
I'm with you on that for sure. Okay, let's talk autos now. All right. What do you think of this is not new, but what do you think of non-sports celebrities and even non-baseball athletes having autographs in this set? So, if you remember last year, there was a Wemby first pitch auto card.
Right. And
I think one of the quiz shows was, what was one of the, highest graded cards, and it was of Wemby, not even a baseball player, of him throwing at the first pitch. And then, of course, there was autographs as part of that. This year, you can find Jason Kelsey's first pitch autograph card. There's CJ Stroud. There's Jason Tatum. You like these as a chase, or you're indifferent?
I don't necessarily consider them as a chase, but I mean, let me ask you a question, Clark. Would you be upset if you pulled one of those?
No, I'd be happy.
I'd be happy.
Yeah.
I'd be way happier than pulling a no-name like rookie. So at the end of the day, it's like, I'm not saying, whoa, this is the chase now. It's like, whoa, I want this. It's more like, I don't think it hurts the product. Right? I'd be very happy with, any of those autos, because I know someone would want it at least, right? Or it's like a cool piece, right? Like even Jason Tatum, it's like, that's a cool Jason Tatum card, right? It's like, how would Topps get around kind of like the whole Panini autos, the licensing? Right. It's like, these are ways that it's like, hey, that's not a bad idea. It's not terrible.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it's okay. I think it caters to a smaller demographic for sure. Like, you would have to love baseball and also be a basketball fan to like really want a Jason Tatum autograph card from a Top Series 1 set, Wemby is probably an exception. Obviously, Wemby is much bigger and the hype is
CJ Stroud too. Like
CJ Stroud, yeah.
I think there's hype around him. Kelsey, some guy would like that. Like, I mean, it's because, and that's what it looks like. It's like they do a mix of like culture, like what is popular in culture, right? Right. And that makes sense to me.
Maybe that's a good way to draw people in to the hobby in general and just into baseball cards. So I mean, I'm not knocking it personally. I would be happy, but at the same time, there are much better cards that I would hope for. Yeah.
Right? It's just, it is what it is.
Yes. Having said that, there is one non-sports autograph card I'm really excited about, and I think I want to buy just off of eBay. I haven't seen one listed yet. I don't know if you know who I'm talking about, but it is Larry David. The creator of Seinfeld, Curb Your Enthusiasm, the voice of George Steinbrenner in the Seinfeld series.
Interesting.
Larry David has his autograph card in 2025 Top Series 1. I'm just a huge fan of Larry David in general. So that's the one exception. I think I'm targeting that for sure.
So I got a buyer if I ever pull that.
Yes, just hit me up for the right price. I'm in. Okay, let's end off with autograph cards that are more baseball related. Barry Bonds, I believe it's his first autograph cards in a top set since 2017. So it's been about 7 or 8 years. So do you think, my question to you is, do you think the tide is changing on how baseball fans and collectors feel about Barry Bonds?
It's funny because Barry Bonds is part of my pick one randomly.
Okay.
But yes, I think the thing is, like, if you didn't watch Barry Bonds, you have no clue what you're talking about. I don't care. End of story. I played this game for a long time. I've coached this game for a long time. If you didn't watch Barry Bonds play in that era, your opinion doesn't matter to me. Because at the end of the day, Like, he is the greatest hitter of all time, period. And I know things that a lot of people don't know because I was exposed to that whole environment because I was in professional baseball during the whole steroid era, right? So for me, it's like, it's such a tough way to supervise what's right and what's wrong. And for me, the Hall of Fame should be based on what impact they made for the game and how good they were as players. And it should be voted on by the players and for the players, not a third party that decides what is. Because for me, it's like you've totally tarnished that guy's career. He's done more to baseball than a lot of ex-MLB players. So it's like, to me, it's an unfair justice at the end of the day. And I get both sides. I get it. Like, you have the camp that thinks, oh, he should be crucified for life. Like, I don't believe that because, like, there's so much to it that we can't necessarily conclude that. Like, you know what I mean? So for me, I think a lot of people are noticing what Barry Bonds has actually done. So if you actually break down his numbers, there are no player in history other than maybe like an old school player, maybe Babe Ruth, maybe Ted Williams, where it's Nintendo numbers.
Right.
Like you don't use that term in modern, like, you know what I mean? At peak in the 90s and 2000s, like, remember Juan Gonzalez? Like, guys like that, Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, those are Nintendo numbers. Barry Bonds has been doing Nintendo numbers for decades. And to me, it's like, I look at like some of his stuff, especially his autographs, because his autos are nowhere to be found. You cannot get a good auto of him. You have to look at really rare auto sets that are not, they don't even look good because they're so old, and some are in black ink, some are smudged, and it's in the 90s and 2000s, right? So long answer short, yes, I think people are starting to turn the page, at least somewhat, and I would like to see it too, because to me, I judge the player by the impact he had on the game and how good he was as a player.
Yeah, I think the tide's changing too. That's why I asked the question, just by virtue of including his autos, in the set and having more people know or want to know what Barry Bonds' career was about. And the biggest argument for me to include him in the Hall of Fame, whether regardless of where you stand on the steroid issue, is there was a time before people speculated that he took steroids. That time before that era, he was putting up crazy numbers even then.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like 40 seasons, like it was ridiculous, So yeah, so I think it's cool. This was I also want to mention his autograph's one of the nicest autographs around.
Yeah, it looks.
You know what I mean?
Nice,
if you look at it,
he signed a few cards, in life.
Yeah, I feel like he's still maybe a little bit curmudgeon-y in real life, probably.
Yeah.
So he probably didn't sign as many as other people. He's like, okay, I'm tired. I'm just this is all I'm signing now.
Yeah.
So, and with guys like Barry, you're like, you'll take what you get. Like whatever he gives you, you're happy with. So
and just to add this, remember, the only player in MLB history to hit 700 plus home runs and steal 500 bags. I don't know if there is another human being that will ever do that ever again. Never say never, but I'm saying 700 home runs is no easy feat. And Ohtani's going to have to do this for a long time, right?
Right.
To get there, right? So just to put into perspective.
Yeah. No, like you said, Nintendo numbers, for sure. It's a great way of putting it. Last thing, do you have any critiques about Top Series 1 this year or in general?
In general, well, I expressed my dislike for the experience that paper products like flagship Top Series 1, Series 2 bring. It is a very boring rip. So that would be one kind of like thing that I would look to improve or want to look to improve. But I would say even the design too. I think it's pretty weak, to be honest.
You don't like it, eh?
I don't like it. Maybe, but that's the thing. It usually changes. Like I wasn't a fan of 2020, and I still stand by it. I think it's such a weak design. The parallels are weak. 2021, 2022 weren't great either. 2023 was decent. 2024 was really good. And then 2025 I feel like is more of a disappointment, right? So for me, and then 2018, 2019 I loved. So
Yes.
So that's the way I see it. It's like I have love-hate for the sets. Like I think 2020 was by far the worst year. So I don't think it's at that point.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's like last year's design I loved. I thought they did
I love 2024.
great job. But then I wouldn't put it as high as like 2018 or 2019, but I would put it up there, right? 2025, and maybe it's going to be different. Maybe I rip open a box and then it grows on me and, I change my mind. But from right now, from initial, like just seeing images, I'm not a fan of the design. It could change though.
Yeah, it's one of those things that it just kind of, sometimes it grows on you. And I think it's already happening to me for 2025. Initially, I was like, meh. But now I'm like, you know what? It's not as bad as I thought. I don't mind it as much. So it's growing on me already. But yeah, I agree with you. 2024 was much better. I don't know if it was just because it was really different, but and I can vision even when Top Series 1 came out, you're already thinking Topps Chrome's going to be really nice when that set comes out for 2024.
Right.
I'm not sure I can say the same for 2025, but we'll see. The only critique I have is I love home field advantage, and I completed the 2022 home field advantage. Although they kept on adding 10 more for Series 1, 2, and update. Series 1 2025 has 20 home field advantage, right? So they doubled the amount in the set. So I'm guessing they'll have 20 more in Series 2 and 20 more on update. So they're making those checklists a lot bigger. I wish it was more, I wish it was easier to collect if you were going for the whole set. Now with 60 cards, you're not going to really go for it unless you're a hardcore HFA guy. And even I'm not going to do that. So my only critique. Okay. Yeah.
And here's one more critique. So I just kind of found like an Independence Day. I usually check the Independence Day, see how much I like it. But it's like, it's not bad. Like the parallels do look good, but my only knock, you got the whole flag this time. It's just not like stars or just not stars really. Or I think one year, I forgot what year was just stars on the border. Like think about it. Like 2018, 2019, why is everybody saying it's the best looking parallel set? I think it's because the whole card is the parallel, not the border. Like bring back the whole card as the parallel. Why are you just doing the border? That's what they did with like 2020. That was the difference between 2019 and 2020. And I absolutely hated it because all they did with the Independence Day and the blacks and the stuff where it was the left side of the card, that was the parallel. When 2019 and 2018, if you look, so I have the Tatis Independence Day 2019, the whole card is the parallel. It looks amazing. 2018, Shohei Independence Day. The whole card is the parallel.
Amazing, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, why are you just doing the border? It doesn't even cost different. It's not like there's no business move on that. Like, there's no cost. It's the same price. Maybe a graphic designer might be frustrated more because they have to edge up the character or the player, but. Come on, man.
I'm with you, man. I agree. I agree. Maybe not as passionate as you are, but I agree with your general sentiment. I'm looking.
I'm a big Independence Day guy. That's why I always look at the Independence and black parallels.
And black, yes.
Yeah, and it's just
2020. The 2020 Topps Independence. Yeah, you're right. It's just that one side of the card.
So weak.
And the problem with that is you just don't know if it's an Independence Day parallel just by a quick glance.
Right.
You want to know exactly right away, right? When you hit something
Absolutely.
like that. Yeah. So I agree. All right. With that said, I'm definitely going to pick up at least a hobby box to rip, and then we'll see what we come out with. But once we do that, I'll put it up on our YouTube site so we can share our hits if we get any. Oh, I'll actually end off with what John mentioned in our chat group because I think it's a good point. He said, "quote Even if things get gimmicky, I prefer that over parallels." And he mentioned that, we all seem to have parallel fatigue, especially when it comes to Panini products, right? So yeah, I thought it was a good point that, instead of having 20 more new parallels of a card, to be more creative, I guess, in terms of like what you can offer.
For that, for sure.
Yeah, agreed. All right, let's do a mailbag segment. We got a couple of questions via DM on my Instagram page at 5cardguys and on our podcast page at Cards to the Moon. You can find those links in the show notes below. The first one is from at weekends_r_4_cards. Weekends are for cards on IG. And he says he's a fan of the pod, so thanks for tuning in week after week. He asks, quote, could you give me your thoughts on when a player's first Bowman auto is commensurate to its first Bowman non-auto? Question I've long pondered, and seeing how this plays out in football/basketball Prism only adds to the question. In Prism, the non-auto parallels seem to be more desired. Right. Thanks, end quote. So I mentioned to him, we did talk about this long ago. I don't know if you remember, but when it comes to basketball cards, we also realized for some reason autographed rookie cards aren't as desired as, the more rare non-auto parallel cards, rookie cards. Right. And I guess it's generally true for Panini football Prism cards as well. The same rule applies. And I think we just attributed that to hobby logic, one of those things, right? But I think the question is asking whether that applies for baseball cards too. Is there like a point where a first Bowman autograph card of a player is close to the value of a first Bowman non-auto card? Maybe
in a parallel,
if it's a more
rare
refractor. Yes.
I think baseball has been interesting because I was always in the camp where non-auto first Bowmans were undervalued. Mm-hmm. So I would always treat it as a good buy. Right. So if you want, so instead of getting a Topps Chrome rookie card 3 years later, maybe the play is a colored parallel of a non-auto, because the autos would be super inflated, of like a Bobby Witt Jr. Instead of a 2022 Topps Chrome rookie parallel, why don't you go for a parallel of Bowman Chrome first non-auto of Bobby Witt Jr. Right. So I always, and I've played that game too. I've done well on first Bowman non-auto. Like I had a Bobby Witt orange shimmer non-auto, the first Chrome. Yeah. The centering sucked, but it was like I got it graded with SGC because of the centering, but it was a SGC 9. Mm-hmm. But I at the time nobody wanted it. Everybody was after the auto. I think I bought it for $200, like before graded raw, an orange shimmer, which is crazy. But
numbered to 25.
Numbered to 25, but then the auto version, like a refractor, was going for like $1,000 or $800. So I was like, the better buy is the orange shimmer, right? And sure enough, the peak was it's probably worth a lot more. But I remember at the time, I sold at peak. It was like $1,200, and I was happy with kind of like that whole flip because, I thought I bought it at a reasonable price. So I always was in the camp that the Bowman First Chrome autos, there's great opportunity. And I think that's the whole point. It's like, I don't think, and it goes back to what you said, it's the hobby logic. It's like, why the market is this way, I don't know. But that just shows you that if you believe that it's a good buying opportunity, then it's just a great buying opportunity, and people don't realize the value. And it's the same thing that we said with like Prism basketball autos. Maybe Prism basketball autos are valuable long term, but they become a good buy right now because nobody really wants them. And I get it. Like there's sticker autos in a lot of Panini products, and it's different than Topps Chrome and Bowman Chrome. Mm-hmm. So there's that side of things where I think, hobby logic right now, it doesn't mean it's going to stay forever. Like we said, paper parallels were 50-50, and then now paper parallels sell for a fraction of what Chrome parallels. So is it a question of, hey, right now during this time, this period, is it a good buy to go on paper parallels? And we say this with BGS too. Is it a good time? Are they undervalued? So that's the same way I treat first Bowman Chrome non-autos. Yeah.
For sure, I generally agree as well. Like I did say, if you're comparing like exact parallel or refractor to refractor, and the only difference is if it's an auto versus non-auto. I think for baseball, autograph cards will always be king, right?
Yeah.
Like that's maybe it's in the history. You go to a ballpark, you get the autograph of your favorite baseball player. It's kind of part of the tradition. So there's that to it, and maybe not as much in the other sports. Right. But like you said, I think for the more rare non-auto parallels or refractors, certainly there's a play for it. And the thing with these kind of plays is you don't have to invest as much as you would if you're trying to gamble on a player's autograph card, especially an autograph rookie card. So, why not dabble if you want to take the risk? You could get some gold non-autos for pretty decent prices of some of the, the key players in the league.
Right. And to add that point, I think like the market will dictate that, because at the end of the day, like I remember I had a blue Vladdy first chrome non-auto as well. Mm-hmm. For 2 years, the thing sat sideways. You know what I mean? It didn't go up, even though Vladdy autos were going up. So I think the market, like as a reseller, mm-hmm. people have that in the back of their mind, saying, "I'd rather have the auto than the non-auto." Like they've made up their mind. It's like, I'm not going into that game, because if I'm trying to flip this, I know that people will, the autos move in value. So I think that's kind of like the behind the force of why, because we just have a history of that, the non-auto sitting sideways, right? But I also believe that could change over time.
Yeah. No, for sure. Like, I'm not even looking at, like, if you use Mike Trout as an example, it's 2011 Bowman Chrome Gold non-autograph card.
Right.
BGS 9 sold for $3,400. Like, that's...
Yeah, but the only difference there would be, like, 2009 would have been his first auto, right? So, like, that, the 2011 would technically just be a rookie card Bowman, because Mike Trout didn't have the non-auto in 2009. He just had a auto Bowman. But imagine if he did have a non-auto 2009 first card. I think that would be a very desirable card.
True. Yeah. I should look for a better example. But yeah, I definitely generally, I definitely agree with that assessment.
Yeah.
Okay. So I hope that helps you out. Weekends are for cards on IG. All right, let's go to the second question. It's from our hobby friend Josh, who's at Inspired Sports Cards on IG. He says there was a recent sale of a Shohei Ohtani card, and it's specifically the 2018 Donruss Optic Gold Vinyl 1/1 rookie autograph card. Okay, on card auto too. It's raw, but it's encased, so it's protected. And it went for $31,200. Okay, $31,200. And Josh wants to know if you think that was an overpay, an underpay, if it was fair, and what the future growth potential is for this card, especially from that $31,000 mark. And I should note before you answer that, of course, Donruss Optic is unlicensed,
right? But
it does have the rated rookie brand going for it.
Right.
So various factors to consider.
Yeah, we actually talked about this with Josh back in July. Because it was a question of, would you trade? Because I believe Josh has a 1/1 white box Ohtani auto, which is a beautiful, beautiful card, and that's what we talked about. It's like, would you trade this for a red ink auto, right?
Licensed
red ink auto, and my answer to him at the time was, I'll pull it up, but I said that's a tough one. I think the red ink will be more liquid, but this can fetch a premium at the right time. Right. And that's the way I see it, is like, that's what we're talking about. Like, that is that 31,000 a valid sale? It is a valid sale because somebody thought it was worth it, and it was a deal, right? At this time. But does the general public who's in the market for that, would they have paid 31,000? That's to be determined, right? Because then you would need another buyer to make sure that comp is like where the market's valued at. And that's the tricky part of valuing 1/1s, right? Is that the last previous comp could have been 9,000 or whatever it was. And now it's like 31K, right? And that's, I think, the beauty of holding scarce, highly desirable cards. And from this case, even though it's non-licensed, it has Ohtani's on-card auto, the rated rookie emblem that you're talking about. So it has a lot of eye appeal. Plus, it's Ohtani's original autograph. And especially now that Ohtani changed it again, which is ugly. It's like, what? He's trying to be fancy and then he just scribbles it. And I remember, I forgot who it was just saying that, like, no, there's going to be no 10 autos because of the streak. He does it so quick. It's always streaky. Yeah. You're never going to get a 10 auto on it. So for me, those are little things that I think long term will really impact the value of Ohtani auto cards, and the pre-2020 autos that Ohtani did, right? So, with that said, is $31,000 a reasonable sale? I think it's a great sale. I think if anything, I would be excited because that would be technically your closest comp to your one of one, right? So I think the question cannot be answered whether that was justified or not, but I think it is there. It happened, and you have something that is somewhat comparable. So you
have a comp.
Yeah, it increases your value a lot. So at the end of the day, I think it was great that you held it. Hopefully you held it and not sold it. Hopefully this is a question you're not like regretting, but, I would say, it's right there. It would be valued at that or around, right? Whether it goes down to 25 or 20 because of the next comp, that's to be determined, right? Or it could go up.
Yeah. No, I like the play. I think, you got to hold it. Now, if you bought that 31,000, I don't think you could flip it right away to get
for sure
a huge profit on it. You got to hold it, let Ohtani do crazy things, and then put it up for auction again, and then just really upplay what you mentioned. It's a 1 of 1. It's a rated rookie card. Right. It's an on-card original auto of Shohei, and then all you need is one buyer to go over 31,000. Right. So that's the risk, but that's the play. And the only reason why I'm hesitant to, say that it's a good short-term flip is because if you look at comps of licensed product, kind of what you're mentioning with the red ink, like what else can you get for the 30,000 mark? Wow. And right now you could get a 2018 Bowman Chrome autograph rookie blue refractor numbered to 150, the batting stance. PSA 10. Right. PSA 10. I think most people would rather get that card than the 1 of 1 gold vinyl. I think right now, at least. Yeah. Right.
So the value goes up a lot. You're comparing a PSA 8 red ink to now the Bowman Chrome
PSA 10 blue refractor.
Yeah.
So, you never know. You just need one buyer. But yeah, that's what I like to do. To kind of compare what else could I get for that price. And if I was a buyer, which one would I rather have? And right now I would rather have the Bowman Chrome Blue on-card auto. Right. And it's also an original auto, of course, because it's from his rookie season.
Right, yeah. I agree.
All right. There you go, Josh. We said we would address it on the show. So thanks for both Josh and Weekend for Cards submitting those questions. You could always DM us at 5cardguys or at Cards to the Moon like they did, and we'll try to address it in a future episode. Okay, let's end off the show with our regular weekly segment we call Pick One. As usual, Hyung, do you want to start things off for us? You mentioned Barry Bonds.
Yeah, I'm bringing Barry Bonds back, and I already know your answer, but I want to do this more of a discussion because I want to understand. I guess I know the answer because it's like the modern versus vintage, but like, what would you do if let's bring back the Topps Tiffany 1986 Barry Bonds. So this is the Grail. Mm-hmm. It's not the most expensive, I would say, rookie card because he has some really rare stuff that might go bananas. But I would say this is the most expensive, highly desired rookie card of Barry Bonds. So the last 3 comps, there's only 3 sales actually from December 8th to February 2nd. And both of the most recent sale happened last week. So February 2nd, right? So one sold for $6,500. This is PSA 10. And one sold for $78.77. And then the one in December sold for $6,400. So that's quite the bump since what we said. It was a good buy at $5,000. I remember we were saying, hey, $5,000 Topps Tiffany might be a good buy based on the pop count. So would you rather right now spend $6,800 on this Topps Tiffany Barry Bonds, now that we talk about like where we sit with the whole, steroid issue, or would you rather a PSA 8 Topps Chrome Update Red Refractor out of 5, Paul Skeens, an auto, so rookie auto PSA 8, sold for $5,600? So it's like, I want to know, there's two buyers that obviously paid $6,000. Obviously, Barry Bonds is a little more, so you'd pay that little premium. But I want you to justify buying Paul Skeens.
I mean, the best justification for getting that particular Paul Skeens card is that it's numbered to 5, right? It's super scarce, and if Paul Skeens has another monster season like he has,
right,
that can really go up because it's so scarce.
So the ceiling on the modern card. So do you think Paul Skeens is that type of player like Ohtani that would have a second bump? Or have we seen it? Does he fall under like the Ja Morant category?
Man, it's so hard to say.
Because pitchers never haven't done it, right?
Exactly. I always put Paul Skeens as, he's a pitcher. So there's a stigma that comes with pitchers in the hobby, right. He throws so hard, and I'm still nervous about him having an IL stint, which is very possible.
TJ.
Or even worse, right? Yeah, like a TJ surgery. So, so for those reasons, I'm not, eager to invest in a very super high-end rare pitcher, even if it is Paul Skeens.
Right.
So, I mean, my answer is obviously Barry Bonds.
That's what I
his rookie
figured.
Card. So, yeah. But I could see if you want to take the risk for a short-term flip, like if he does have a great season till the All-Star break, gets into the All-Star team, dominates for the first half, then I think you could probably sell it for.
So you wouldn't see that with Barry Bonds necessarily. This Topps Tiffany, it's sideways.
It's sideways, but it's got a floor. It's the floor is steady.
Right.
And I think it has room to go up over time.
Yeah.
Especially, who knows, right? With the Hall of Fame discussion, who knows with more people coming on board. We were talking about it earlier in the episode. Is the tide changing on how people feel about Barry Bonds? I think that's true as well. So I think there's an opportunity for that card to go in increase in price, but maybe not as potentially as quickly as a Paul Skeens
makes sense
card.
And I think there is a little bump already on that Barry Bonds card. That's why I knew the answer was Barry Bonds. I was saying at like what price would that justification happen with that Paul Skeens card? If it was like $3,000 or $4,000 for the Paul Skeens and $7,000 for the Barry Bonds, it's like those are the kind of questions because then it becomes okay. What is my play with it? So I'm just painting out a scenario. I knew your answer because I would choose the Barry Bonds Topps Tiffany too, right? But then I think about it and it's like my basic behavior over the last 5 years shows that I am not keeping many cards, so I end up selling it. So maybe Paul Skeens would be the answer based on my habits, right? So if I was starting a new collection, I think I would go Barry Bonds for sure. But I think I would consider it if I'm in that kind of like, you know what, I don't know if I'm going to hold it. It's not long term. It's more of a, hey, I think this is really cheap right now. And I could, if Paul Skeens going to have a season, or maybe even sell it to Paul Skeens, like, yeah, so it's kind of one of those. So I just wanted to kind of get your take on it to, I guess, more of a, like I knew your answer. I knew it would be Topps Tiffany. And I think 99% of people would say that. But I think our habits would be closer to 50-50.
Yeah, I can see that for sure.
Yeah.
That's a good one. All right, well, maybe we'll do a poll on 5-Card Guys, see what people think. That'll be interesting. All right, we'll end off with this. The Super Bowl just happened, so I think it might be a good timely pick one. On one side, you got Patrick Mahomes, Silver Prism, 2017 Silver Prism rookie card. Pop count's 968. It sold a couple days ago after a Super Bowl loss for 5,500.
Sorry,
Okay,
say that
so
again. Say that again.
the card.
Yeah.
The 2017
silver.
Silver Prism, his rookie.
Okay.
Yeah, PSA 10, 5,500.
Okay.
Pop count's 968, just under 1,000.
Right.
Or Tom Brady, the 2000 Bowman Tom Brady rookie card. Not the Chrome, just the Bowman.
Chrome. Okay.
Yep. Sold last week for 5,975. So let's say $6,000 for both. Which one would you go for? The Brady 2000 Bowman PSA 10 rookie or the Patrick Mahomes Silver Prism PSA 10 rookie? And the pop count for the 2000 Bowman is 474. So about half of the Silver Prism of Mahomes.
Man, here's the problem I have is Bowman Chrome is what everybody wants of Tom Brady. So for me, it's like
very expensive.
It's very, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So if we compare apples to apples, so like I feel like even though Patrick Mahomes didn't come with a Super Bowl, I think he's still the next closest to Tom Brady. And I think that's the question everybody has. It's like, who's the next Tom Brady? Right? So for me, I've seen this card go bonkers. At peak, what was this?
At peak, it was over 14,000.
Yeah, so I would say the floor would be, and who knows, in this offseason it might drip down to 5,000 to 4,000 maybe. But I think that's like you're talking floor because 900 under 1,000 is still low in terms of the pop count. And for me, the Silver Prism, especially in those years, they're actually rare. They're not like the Silver Prisms that they mass produce, like the Lucas and stuff like that. So I would say it's the Mahomes for me. I think it would be one of his best rookie cards to get. Like 2016, the XRC would be like kind of like I would say the Grail rookie card to chase after. So it's not at that level, but for that price at $5,000, I think the right buy is the Mahomes. But I see that card kind of going down, so it might not be a good time to buy right now.
Right. Okay. You know what? I'm going with Mahomes too. I hope Brady lovers don't attack us for this episode. But you know why? Because you're right. The Bowman Chrome is what collectors want. The Tom Brady Bowman Chrome, not just the Bowman, but Bowman Chrome. And his PSA 10 rookie card of his Bowman Chrome just sold for 7,900.
Right. Okay. So
yesterday.
Chrome is the right play, right?
Yeah, I thought it would be a lot more for some reason.
Right,
Do you know what I mean? Like $6,000 for a paper Bowman. Oh, sorry, it's 2000 Bowman paper, I guess.
But that's probably maybe why pop counts are lower too, right?
Yes. So the pop count for what? The 2000
paper.
Bowman.
Paper.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because the Bowman Chrome PSA 10 is 1,200
right.
pop.
And it's half.
Right? So
it makes sense.
Yes. Right. Yeah. But still, I would rather have the
I'd rather have the Chrome. Exactly. It's more liquid. This is what people want, right? And the card looks better, I think.
For sure. Agreed. So yeah, for that reason, even that reason alone, I would rather have the
Silver Mahomes?
Silver Prism Mahomes.
What if you did it Chrome versus the Silver Mahomes?
Ooh, that's a good question. So 8,000 for the Bowman Chrome of Brady versus 6,000 for the Silver Prism.
You're still going Silver Prism. The price. It's the price. It's the
price. Yeah, it's a price. Yeah. I mean, I would love to have the Bowman Chrome Brady rookie card. Yeah. But I just, you know what? I was kind of happy that the Chiefs lost as a collector because maybe if the prices do dip, this is the time. Right. This is the time to get Mahomes cards.
Yeah,
you know?
I agree.
Because he's not done.
He's not done. No.
You know, there could be haters, and I hope there are more haters, and then they'll create some kind of FUD and, you know, have people like liquidate some of their Mahomes cards.
Yeah. You'll be there waiting.
I'm buying at that point. Yeah, for sure.
Here's a bonus one, Clark.
Okay.
Bowman Chrome or the tops Bowman Chrome Brady or the Topps Tiffany Barry Bonds.
Oh, cross sports.
It's the winner of both. Kind of.
Damn. That's hard because my natural inclination is like I'm a baseball card collector, but at the same time, Brady's just safe. He's safe. There's still question marks with Barry Bonds. I think the tide is changing, but there's still a risk factor in investing in Barry Bonds cards. Okay. It's a non-zero risk, right? So, whereas Brady, I'll go with Brady in this case. I'll play it safe.
I'm going Barry Bonds. Lower pop count.
You're going down with the ship.
I'm going down with the ship. I'm with you, Barry.
It's Hyung and Barry till the very end.
Nice.
All right, good one. We'll end off the episode with that. Thanks again to all our listeners and subscribers. And again, if you want to DM us any questions at 5cardguys or at Cards to the Moon, and we'll try to address any of those in a future episode. And we'll have a brand new episode for you on Friday. Talk to you then. Bye. Hey, thanks for listening to Cards to the Moon. We'd really appreciate you subscribing to our podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts. And you can also connect with each of us on Instagram at 5cardguys, or you can follow Hyung at Integrity Sports Cards or John at TradeU at Recess. You can also check us out at 5cardguys.com. Thanks again, and hope to connect soon.